Thank you for joining me. I'm Gord Long. It's my pleasure to have with me today Mish Shedlock of Sitka Pacific Capital, probably better known for his website, his blog, mishtalk.com. Welcome back, Mish.
Pleasure to be back on the show, Gordon.
Oh, yeah, how quickly the time goes. Any trips, any photography trips that you've made?
We just got back from Iceland. We had planned to go to Arches, and we got really lucky. Had hotels reserved for 10 days, cars reserved, plane tickets, everything. We were already off. I was doing some research on some night photography. I started exchanging emails with someone, and he said, "Well, did you know the park is closed? They're closing the fricking park from it just started, and it happened after we booked our reservations and everything. So unless we went out there to check, which we didn't, I wouldn't have known. But from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., or it would be the only time it was open. So sunrise photography out, sunset photography out, night photography out. The whole point of the trip would have been totally wasted, just random. So, but 3 days before we were going to leave, we found this out, canceled everything, made new plans, going to go to Monument Valley in May.
Well, the good news is we get to talk today. Good news is you got to witness
Yeah, we
the
get to
French
talk
Revolution.
today instead
I
of
was
me
going to say
being
the
in
French
Arches.
election.
Yeah, I really wanted to go on that trip, but you know what? We booked a better trip. I'm quite convinced of that. So I'm really excited about some of the places we're going, and but it was just pure luck that I found out about this, exchanging emails with someone on night photography. Oh, by the way, did you know the park was closed? No, I didn't. Thank you.
I enjoy featuring your some of your photography work. It's just breathtaking, absolutely, and we'll do it again here today. Mish, I want to jump right in. The French election. I was going to say revolution again. Maybe that's what it's going to. But the French election. What have we learned from it in terms of the outcome?
Well, the pollsters got one right. I had a feeling they would too. I didn't even see the results of my poll, but I put one up there on my blog. Will it be Le Pen, Macron? That was my vote, actually. Although I wouldn't have been surprised by hardly anything. The polls were all so tight. I said repeatedly on my blog, anything can happen because we have seen the polls be wrong, but they were just so consistent with each other instead of flying all over, not varying by much from each poll. You don't know. I mean, the Brexit polls, by contrast, were moving up and down, gyrating almost every day. Couldn't make heads or tails out of it. The U.S. election had a lot of gotchas thrown in it. This was just kind of normal politics here. But we had a police shooting 2 days before. You don't know how that's going to affect it. So the markets acted as if they were surprised. Maybe relief is a better word. Everything was soaring today. I didn't see the final closing numbers, but the stock market was up most of the day. Gold was down. Treasury yields up. You know, and I wrote on my blog and I said, well, what changed? What changed? By the way, the election is still not over. Most people think that Macron's going to win, beat Le Pen. I think so too. I thought that all along, but I always thought that there was a bigger chance she would win, and I still think that now. I just don't think it's likely. But no matter whether Le Pen won or Macron wins, neither of them, I don't think, are going to get their policies through the French Parliament. They're both relative outsiders. Macron is pro-business, sort of. At least that's what he says in his policy. Well, try getting those reforms through. Hollande couldn't get them through. So why do we think he's going to get them through? I don't think Marine Le Pen would have got her anti-Euro policy, through a vote on leaving Europe. I don't think the French Parliament would have voted on that. The the real elephant in the room here has always been Italy, where 3 out of the 4, or maybe it's 4 out of the top 5 candidates all want to leave the Eurozone, that's a lot more convincing that they're going to be able to succeed from a country that is literally getting sick of the euro, and than France. So we'll see. We have a German election coming up. I don't know what's going to happen there. Whatever happens, though, Merkel's power is going to be diminished for sure.
You know, I'm looking at Macron's. I'm with you. Whether if he does win, and we're going on that assumption, whether hit the amount of things that he wants to do in his policies, and I was reading them in the Guardian. He wants to remake the French political system, relax labor laws, cut business taxes, reform unemployment system, encourage social mobility, cut public spending, shrink the public sector. Now we get it. Reduce the number of MPs, establish a Eurozone government, and oh, by the way, hire 10,000 more policemen and gendarmes. And I could go
Some
on.
of those things are pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I like what I've
changing
heard.
the labor laws. That's what's needed. Greece needs to do that. Italy needs to do that. What makes me think this guy can get these things through? But as far as more Europe goes, I don't even think France wants that. So he was elected despite some of his well, he's not elected yet. The presumption is he's going to win, despite some of the things he wants.
You know, but Mish, what bothers me.
But I don't think the French Parliament is going to go along with these things.
And exactly, and why I read off that list, and Marie Le Pen's different, but just as long a list, is that whoever wins this election, what's happening is people are losing confidence in governments and the establishment and the ability to make changes. So even if they believe in it, they suddenly find that nothing changes. It's still, and in 6 months, a year, like Trump coming in, he says he's going to drain the swamp. Well, I think the swamp's eating him alive. It could be potentially, but it's the same everywhere. And the people continue to lose confidence. So they may win this election, but it's coming. And that's why I'm with you on Italy's troubling to me, because when Pepe Grillo faces his election, the next election, he's got all these other countries to say, yeah, they made the promises and couldn't deliver, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's problematic.
45% of the vote in France was extreme. The people voted for Mélenchon or Le Pen or some of these minor candidates. 7 out of the 11 candidates in the French election were anti-Euro. I don't know if you knew that. They got real tiny percentages, but Marine Le Pen got close to 22. Mélenchon got close to 20. Both of them wanted to leave the Eurozone, so that's 42% right there. Add in another 3% or more, and you're at 45% of the electorate. So it's, even though a guy in the center won, but even winning, polarized here.
But even winning, Mish, as you point out, he was only just over 24%, and Marie Le Pen was just under 22%. It was pretty darn close between the two. So it's clearly going to be about all these other candidates that are out of the final runoff, where they support, and not only what they recommend or talk to their supporters, but what their supporters actually will do. To me, that's the real wild card here. And I don't know how well the polls have got this.
I think they're going to get this one right, probably.
So it'll be the first one then in some time.
Yeah, it'll be the first one in a while.
But the springboarding, you've been doing a lot of work on Target 2 accounts, and I don't want to get technical with those, but it leads into the size of debt in Italy and Spain specifically. What did you conclude from some of the things you found on Target 2?
Every month it goes up, and we got a friend, Lars. He lives in Norway, maybe. He lives in Europe for sure. He emails me stuff all the time, and we've been trying to figure out what is it exactly that causes the Target 2 imbalance within the ECB to go up. Target 2 is a function of capital flight, of central banks owing each other money. But how is the ECB involved in this? And he sent me a link, and I posted it on my blog, and it has to do with these central banks buying up their own bonds, swapping them for collateral with the ECB, and the roundabout way that it happens within peripheral Europe is such that it creates target 2 imbalances within the ECB itself. But if you add them all up, which is what we're talking, and the number rises every month, and to an extent, it's a function of the ECB's QE bond buying program, but also to an extent that is totally a cop out because of the need to do this and things that could have been done so that the target 2 balances didn't go up despite this QE balance. But anyway, we're close to $1 trillion here now of imbalances. And of course, Germany is the biggest creditor, and Italy and Spain are near equal, over 300 billion euros a piece, almost 700 billion, over 700 billion, I think the total of them. And Greece is worth 70 billion to the negative. The ECB about 150 billion to the negative. These are just rough numbers off the top of my head that I'm remembering from my last post. Add it all up, about $1 trillion. And this is money that the system is presuming that Greece and Portugal and Italy and Spain are going to be able to pay back.
It'll never happen. It's unpayable and inextinguishable. It'll just never.
Unless it's.
So the issue here, with these elections, let's say Le Pen wins. Let's just be hypothetical in France, and therefore her policy to go back to the French franc and out of the euro. If let's say Pepe Grillo wins in Italy in next election, and he is out of Italy or at least wants to go back to the lira, what are the ramifications of any of those countries actually going back to their own currency? Who's left holding the bag?
Well, Germany's left holding the bag. And, that was the point, which is something I've actually said for years. Michael Pettis was at China Financial Markets, talks about these trade imbalances all the time. He was the first to go over these things in detail. I don't agree with him on everything. No one agrees with me on anything, but I think he's got this one right. That ultimately there's going to be a default. Just look at Greece. Here they are, kicking the can again with yet another freaking program, and Greece is supposed to pay back. It's 250 billion. How is this even going to happen? And that doesn't even count 70 billion in target 2 liabilities. Please, guys, the assumptions are absurd. The IMF actually, sort of to its credit, although I thought they were going to renege and go for one more program, and they still might, because when push comes to shove, they've always done that. Support one more program that can't work. What's possibly different this time is Trump. He seems to be sick of the IMF, not wanting the U.S. to be involved in any more of the bailouts. He'd just as soon see the Eurozone break apart. So if the U.S. does a lot of funding for the IMF, so maybe the U.S. has a little bit of say in here, or maybe the IMF is just finally realized there's no way they can cover this thing up anymore. They're just wrong. They can't hide it anymore, and they may as well finally admit it. I don't know whether reality sunk in or a little bit of pressure or a little bit of both, but something's going on here. And the weird thing is here, the IMF has been arguing actually for more debt relief within the Eurozone for Greece, and Greece is mad at the IMF, and certainly they have reason to be mad at the IMF, historically speaking. But right now, the IMF, more than anyone else, certainly more than Germany, has been acting and saying things that are at least a little bit or more in favor of Greece than what Germany's saying. So go figure. Not much more to add. Oh, I do have a picture from Iceland here somewhere. We went to Iceland in the spring. Got a couple of them here. And out of 8 days, we had clear skies one day. So one good set of northern lights here. I don't know if these will come. These aren't going to go on my blog for a while. I'm going to move on to Zion next. But that's one set of northern lights. But this was my favorite one. And northern lights above this tiny little church real close to the hotel where we're staying. So that's just a couple of pictures there. You can find those on Mish Moments. I just posted another picture this week, Freckles the cat. Maybe you can throw a picture of Freckles in this blog and tell people to go visit my site.
Talk to you next month.
Pleasure to be on, and we'll catch you in a month.
Bye.